Good evening. My name's Edward King Thompson, and welcome to another video. I've discussed many reportedly haunted locations during my short time on this platform, from historic pubs to Roman roads and abbey ruins, but they all had at least one thing in common. They were haunted by the ghosts of people. For nearly 2 decades now, I've been trying to wrap my mind around an event which happened when I was around 5 years old. I've already discussed it once before on this channel, but for the purposes of this video, I'll recount it once more. For most of my early childhood, my bedroom in the family home was on the first floor of the house. It is now the guest bedroom. I mention this only to emphasize that although only one frightening thing happened to me in that room, I still cannot look into it if the door is open and the lights are switched off. I close my eyes and quickly dash past. I am very thankful that I moved to a different room in the attic a few years later. During the first years of my life, I was quite a restless sleeper. Because of this, I had a blue mesh bed guard to prevent me from falling out onto the floor. On one occasion, I remember waking up and looking out into the pitch black room. Through my bed guard, I saw a large 2-dimensional being which had the outline of a house cat, but was the size of a tiger. I was absolutely petrified and turned to face the wall until I fell asleep. The eyes of the cat were glowing, but I don't remember if they were green, orange, or another colour. I also suspect that the recollection has been warped by images in books and on television over the years. The memory itself still feels very vivid to this day. There is, of course, the possibility that it was a dream, but I'm confident that I was lucid, and remained so for hours afterwards, my heart thumping against the mattress. In my investigation into this strange encounter, I expected to find a large quantity of reports of similar sightings, with some skeptical explanations. I assumed this due to how widely discussed the shadow person and Hatman entities are. However, my searches seem to turn up very little. There are a multitude of articles and accounts of people witnessing what they believe to be the spirits of former pets, hearing their claws along the floor, or feeling their soft fur rubbing against their leg. These stories are often quite heartwarming, and are clearly a source of comfort for owners who have lost a loved one. However, I've always felt strongly that whatever I witnessed was not the ghost of what was once a living animal, but something far more sinister. So, my search continued. Eventually, I stumbled upon this Reddit article by Phrase Ancient in the Paranormal Sub. I found it very interesting because the account shared many similarities with my experience, only this entity sounds even more terrifying. Phrase Ancient explains that she used to live in a century-old property in a rural wooded area. She would frequently be visited by a mysterious apparition. The creature would appear in her closet, in the corner of her vision, or even sit on her chest during sleep paralysis. Phrase Ancient describes the shadow cat as having whirlpool eyes, which glowed green, and a circular mouth with teeth lining the full circumference, like that of a deep-sea lamprey. While the eyewitness implies that they were not frightened of the entity, they do describe it as demonic in appearance. Several other comments also make this suggestion. While this word holds little weight to me as an agnostic, I was reminded of a much more famous supernatural legend, which bears a striking resemblance to both mine and Phrase Ancient's encounters: the White House Demon Cat. This legend surrounds the United States government buildings in Washington, D.C. In the early 1860s, the basement of the US Capitol building was converted into a bakery to feed soldiers. This is where the legend begins. The demon cat was thought to be a ghostly tabby or black cat, which would initially appear regularly sized before growing to the size of a tiger or elephant. Its eyes were described to glow with all the hue and ferocity of the headlights of a fire engine in a Washington Post article. On one occasion, a guard reportedly fired upon the entity, but it simply disappeared. In the early years of the legend, the demon cat was repeatedly reported by guards and soldiers in the basement of the Capitol building. Later, however, the legend spread to the White House itself, and the sightings of the animal were viewed as an omen of misfortune. The creature was supposedly sighted by a White House guard just prior to the stock market crash of 1929. It was seen again by a night watchman before the Kennedy assassination. The most likely explanation for the origin of this legend is that cats were introduced to the US Capitol's basement in order to kill rats and mice around the time of the first sightings. These cats became a small population which roamed the basement tunnels unchecked for decades. According to United States Capitol Historical Society historian Steve Livengood, the concept of the demon cat likely began with a guardsman at the United States Capitol who may have imbibed a little too much during a long night stretch. After sleeping off the bender, he likely awoke to a basement mouser cat who appeared larger than life since the guard was lying down. Livengood even surmised that the Watchman's story could have perpetuated itself because a demon cat sighting likely resulted in a day off work. Over many years, the legend likely morphed and shifted through word of mouth, the cat eventually being associated with other government buildings and as an ominous portent of death. After reviewing these stories and some other minor mentions, I have concluded that any connections between them are tenuous at best, and it is unlikely that they are descriptions of the same phenomenon. Rather, I think these tales speak to a historical association between cats and the occult in our collective psyche. Throughout contemporary pop culture, black cats are associated with witchcraft, and their presence is considered a bad omen. Perhaps my personal experience, even at such a young age, was subliminally influenced by what I viewed on television or read in picture books more than I ever truly realised. Either way, all these tales are a reminder of just how little we understand our brains and how they are influenced by external stimuli. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.